What is up, YouTubers? It's Max on here. I'm here on behalf of Mr. Zano's third period English class at Central Catholic High School. I have a little book report for you guys for my independent reading. It's on A Clockwork Orange by Anthony Burgess. Let me start by saying that this is a great novel. Highly recommended. I went into this project thinking it's a very common novel. There's going to be a lot of ideas out there. A lot of my friends have read it. I'm not expecting too much. And I was very pleasantly surprised at how well the plot was driven throughout, how great the characters were, how great of a novel it was altogether. Alright? Okay, so before I start getting into the details on the novel, let me just say that Burgess uses a slang throughout the entire novel called nadsat, and it makes it extremely hard to get into the novel. They're using just completely different words that don't even have any connotation to it. It's not even close. Using words like Britva for razor. Those two words are not close at all. What he does is he leaves them in context for you so you can figure out yourself. But it's still hard to struggle through. It's not easy. You have to pay attention throughout the novel. First 15 pages were hard for me to get through, but after I started getting along, I started getting used to it, started getting it. A couple words will come up like twice, 3 times, and you just get it after a while. Plus, you can just go on the internet, look up some words. That gets a little taxing, but definitely worth it. Okay, so the novel is a first-person narrative from the point of view of a boy named Alex. Okay, and Alex lives in a world just like it's very Brave New World-esque and 1984-esque. So it's kind of both of these put together with a society where the government is very oppressive, and the youth of the world, of the state, they call it the state, are very violent, are very they fight against everybody, always committing crimes. So Alex is the leader of a gang with a bunch of his friends, and they are just extremely bad. They're 15-year-olds, and they're raping women, they're beating men, they're robbing people like it's nothing. But Alex does it in a very it's not a barbaric way. He does it in a very sophisticated, elegant way, in the sense that he listens to classical music like Beethoven and Bach, like stuff like that, and he finds art in the music, as well as he does in the violence that he does. Okay, so it's not just him being just going out and just killing people and whatever. Like, he finds joy in it, and he finds it as an art. Okay, so what happens is Alex has his gang, and they're doing their thing. They go out, they kill some people, they rape one. In one specific incident, they break into a married couple's home. They rob and beat up the man, and they make the man. They force the man to watch as they rape the woman. So that happens. After that, they meet up in their usual spot. It's called the Cordova. It's a place where it's like a bar where they serve milk, but the milk has like drugs in it. So it's like a regular bar, except they're serving milk, but it's like spiced up. So they go back to their place, and Alex and one of his friends, Dim, get into an argument, get into a scuffle. Alex ends up hitting him. Things escalate, alright? Whatever, they settle down, no big deal. But on their next endeavor, where they go to rob an old woman, as they're escaping, Dim takes he uses a chain to hit people. That's like his go-to weapon. He has a chain, and he hits Alex in the eye with it, immobilizing him, putting him to sleep, while the cops come and they arrest Alex. So Alex gets the burden for the whole robbery, but it turns out the woman was actually killed as well. So Alex gets tried and gets 14 years of prison. Okay? So that right there is the first part of the novel. The novel is broken up into 3 parts. That's the first part. The second part is what Alex experiences in jail. Okay? So let me just recap on the first part. While reading this, it's very interesting. It's the whole book is fast paced. Everything's happening so much, like It's very interesting, and it has a sort of, not, I wouldn't say real life application, but you can see how it's like an exaggerated version of how kids are today, like just going out, doing whatever they want. Like they're not killing and murdering, like, and raping people, but you can see how parents are just like whatever with Alex. They just think he's a troubled child, but you can just see how this book can connect to real life in the sense that like the kids are just doing whatever they want, and there's no structure with them. Okay, so that's the first part of the novel. Second part, Alex in jail. Alex definitely struggles with jail at the start. All right, he's having a tough time. People are threatening him, trying to rape him, stuff like that. He does develop a relationship with the chaplain though, the chaplain eventually allows Alex to be reading the Bible, to listen to his classical music that he likes, Beethoven, all those, until eventually a new power comes to the state, and then sweeping changes are made to the way inmates are dealt with, and this new treatment is utilized to calm inmates down and to take the violence away from their lives, or away from their nature, their very nature. This treatment is called Ludovico's technique, and it's an idea made by a very high government official called the Minister of the Interior. So what this treatment does is, Alex actually turns out to be the first person to utilize the treatment. So what it does is, it's kind of a form of torture where Alex is going to be administered a type of drug that gets him sick, very sick, and then he'll be forced to watch very violent movies, excessively violent movies, so that he can associate the feeling of being sick and feeling really bad with the violence. Okay, and he has to do this for a very long time, and it eventually gets so bad to the point that he can't even enjoy classical music anymore. He associates that with violence, and that's a very important aspect later on in the novel. So with all this going on, you can see how it resembles very closely the novel by George Orwell, 1984, where the main character, Winston, after defying the government, after showing a dislike and indifference to the government, Winston is taken into custody, taken to a place called the Ministry of Love, where he's tortured and brainwashed into basically loving the government. And the government, the Big Brother, eventually wins, and Winston comes out loving Big Brother, loving the government. And this is the case in the Clockwork Orange, where Alex goes through the treatment and comes out exactly how the government wants him. He's afraid of everything. He's scared. He's not afraid. He's scared, but he's anti-violent. He has no wants to be violent at all. And so that as a whole ends part 2. Part 2, it was him in jail and coming out. Part 3 chronicles the time after jail. Okay? So after the treatment that he goes through, he's left in a state of vulnerability, where it's not just that he doesn't have violent thoughts. He can't handle anything right now. Even the thought of violence just makes him sick. As in the same way with the classical music. So, and this time he's taken advantage of, and he meets up with Dim and Billy Boy. Dim is the one from the gang that hit him with the chain in the eye. And Billy Boy is a boy from a rival gang that he was affiliated with, that he had beef with in a sense. These guys are now cops, and what they do is they're still trying to take revenge off of Alex, and so they kidnap him. They take him out to the country, and they beat him up and leave him for dead. And Alex should be dead, but he survives. He's left in the pouring rain. He survives. and he's just looking for any way to survive. And he eventually makes his way to F. Alexander's, who is somebody that takes him in, and ironically happens to be Alex recognizes him as the person that they raped his wife and made him watch. As they beat him up, raped his wife, and made him watch. And his wife actually eventually died after that from shock. F. Alexander eventually learns Alex's story and is compelled to fight against the state as well. He doesn't like the state, and he gets some friends together, and they start coming up with brainstorming ideas to get Alex to speak up against the state about what he's been through. Alex just doesn't like it in the end, fights back, and eventually F. Alexander catches on to his the way he speaks, his slang, and remembers him as one of the kids, and so he changes his whole plan completely. And what he eventually does is he locks Alex in a place and just blasts classical music, and Alex just loses his mind. And the goal was F. Alexander's goal was to get Alex to try to commit suicide, and this will open the public's eyes to what the state has been doing. And in a sense, it does work. Alex jumps out a window, but he survives, and he ends up in the hospital. And while he's in the hospital, things just start going crazy. The state starts getting attacked by the public, and eventually the treatment that was used on Alex is revoked. And then what happens is they reverse it on Alex, and as soon as they reverse it, Alex just goes back to his normal ways. He's back to his violent person. He's basically just how he was before he went to jail. Everything's the same. But he eventually meets up with Pete, somebody that he was affiliated with also, and Pete's happily married. He's having a good life, and it just causes a certain epiphany inside of Alex to reevaluate his life and just realize what he's been doing wrong. So so a big message. So that's it. That's the novel right there. A big message in the novel from that ending right there is how people should be able to make changes to themselves because they want to make the change. Okay, so you see how the government, they took the violence away from him. They took the violence away from Alex, which is a great thing. He's anti-violent now. Like, he doesn't want to be a criminal anymore, which is wonderful. But you can just see how it devolves him. It's not him anymore. It's not who he is. It's not Alex anymore after that. Alex is a criminal. That's how he is. So he didn't get to go through his own metamorphosis inside of him, and realize his true self-worth, his true that what he's doing is wrong. He doesn't get to realize that at his own. It just happens. It just changes. So you can see like the change he goes through when he does the medicine, and then the change he goes through by having the actual epiphany, by realizing it in himself, and his true heart, what he's doing is bad. So yeah, that's pretty much, that's a big message in the novel, and it's pretty blatant. It's pretty obvious. Yeah. So as a whole, it's a great novel. Highly recommended it. I'm telling some of my friends in my English class to read it because it was a great novel. It was amazing. Definitely tough to get through with the slang. Very hard, but you do get through it, and it's just a great growing up novel. Like it's very tough to read in the sense also that the kids are raping people, like the kids are murdering people. Alex eventually gets a sense of torture. He just has a tough life. It's you feel bad for Alex. Alex is a horrible kid. In the sense he's a psychopath. Like, he's crazy. He's what he's doing is horrible. And then just to see him go back to it right after jail also was horrible as well. But you do feel a sense of sympathy for him, for what he's going through, that it's just who he is, first of all. It's just his mannerism. But he does make that change, and he's just having a horrible life. Like, he's getting he got locked into a house listening to classical music like that, and he wanted to commit suicide. That was his only way out. Like, just stuff like that. That's horrible. So yeah, and then you can see the references in the novel to 1984. And a big thing to take into consideration is the time that this novel was written. It was around the time of that communism was on the rise. So it's definitely a big motif in the novel of the government being a communistic government where the people don't get freedom. Everything's the same. People are not free to make their own decisions, in the sense that Alex is not free to be a criminal or not be a criminal. He is he's given that treatment, and he in his mind is forced to be a normal person when in his very nature he may want to be a criminal. Okay, as you see when they take him, as soon as they take him off the medicine, he goes back to being a criminal, back to being a bad person. So yeah, you can see that communist nature that Burgess puts into the novel, that people are not given their free will, in a sense. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. If you like the video that I have for you guys, like and subscribe below. Leave a comment in the comment section below. Let me know how you guys think about it, if I should do another one of these book reviews. Thanks, guys. Definitely recommend it. Clockwork Orange. All right, I'll see you guys.